Hey, hey, I'm Dr. Avis Williams, the CEO of the Joyful Collaborative, and this is a prescription for joy. And I'm super excited today to have the Robert Jackson as my guest today. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful. I am wonderful. And I'm excited about this conversation. And I'll be brief because I do want to dive in. But Rob is just an amazing educator, an inspirational speaker, an NFL player, and so much more. And an author. I've got your books right here. So I know we're going to dive into some of your books and just the work that you've been doing. So we're going to get to that in just a second. But I just want to remind everybody that A Prescription for Joy is a podcast. It's designed for leaders, and I use the term leader loosely because I'm talking about whether you're leading your Sunday school class, your home, a third grade classroom, a Fortune 500 company. It doesn't matter. If you're interested in leaning into joy and just understanding the impact that it can have on your culture and your climate and just your effectiveness, then this podcast is for you. And with that said, we're going to dive in because I want to hear less of me and more of you, Rob.
All
This,
good. Well, joy is the happiness. It doesn't depend on what happens. So I
there
love your
you go.
title.
I
And
love that. I love that.
NFL stands for not for long. So I didn't.
I love that. I love that. And so and it worked out not for long for I mean
Right.
for a lot of people, right? And so you have
It
to
did.
have a backup plan,
That's
right?
right. Fell back on
Not for
education.
long.
Boom. Let me fall back on this education. But no,
I
best
love it.
decision I ever made, and being able to impact not just kids from back then, but generational children,
Yeah.
and now some of the kids I impacted, now they're impacting other kids. So it's beautiful to
That is
watch.
good stuff. That is good
Yeah.
stuff. So, what we're going to talk about today is overcoming burnout and
Yeah.
reigniting passion. And so, we know that we live in a challenging world, right? We got lots of ups and downs and roller coasters. And again, this is whether you're in a high pressure leadership position in a company, in a school district, in your home, or whatever the case may be. Everybody's got something, and we all go through it various times.
We
And I
do.
know you have had a lot of challenges within your career, lots to celebrate, but obviously there are obstacles along the way. So
Always.
before we get into like overcoming, let's just kind of unpack what do we even mean by burnout? And from your perspective, what would you say some of the warning signs would be when a leader or a person is really reaching a point of burnout?
Well, just quick tempered,
Mm.
um, always impatient. The joy for your assignment has left you. Just so
Mm.
it's impatient with people not following through,
Yeah.
um, and not showing up. Not
Yeah.
showing up for yourself or
Right.
anybody else, because you can tell when somebody's not showing up for themselves because
Hmm.
they're really quick tempered with everybody else and they're not joyful
Yeah.
anymore. Your creativity has left you. So, and one of the biggest things is you have people telling you that you at work too much. And sometimes
Right.
people will tell you that you look tired and you look wore out.
Mhm.
And we should pay attention to that.
Yeah, and you bring up some really good points because all of that said, you're never going to be at your best if you're at that point of burnout.
That's
And
right.
this is whether it's about decision making or creativity. And as an author, I can only imagine the writer's block that could go into that if you're burnt out and you're not taking good care of yourself. And so it
True.
is important that people understand what those signs are. Stress is everywhere, and I think as a leader, the onus really is on us to be able to check in with ourselves, monitor that stress, and create that balance. Sometimes I think the work life balance is a euphemism. I mean, does it even exist, right? Because at the end of the day, we do have to work, but we also have to take care of ourselves.
That's
So,
right.
so with you, you have a really busy schedule. Before I ask this next question, tell a little bit about your schedule and what it is that you're doing now.
Well, speaking full time, giving professional development to educators and administrators, I
Mhm.
started back doing student assemblies.
Oh,
Those were fun.
wow.
I spoke to 33 schools in 40 days in DeKalb County schools. So I was
Wow.
just strictly working with young people. And then,
Yes.
the parent empowerment. So I do parent workshops, student assemblies, and,
Hmm.
and student workshops, and then the presentations with educators and administrators and
Hmm.
keynote addresses at conferences.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and so
And write, and
it
write, and still find time to write.
well, it becomes a lot sometimes. But when I get home, I try to rest. I'm still working, but you
Yeah.
got to balance your life. There's 6 things I do every day:
Okay.
exercise, eat right, meditate, pray, rest, laugh.
Oh,
Every
I
day.
love it. I love it.
Exercise, eat right, meditate, pray, rest, laugh. I think if you find a balance of doing all those things,
Hmm.
and when my body's tired, I rest.
Yeah.
And and like you said, writer's block. Sometimes I
Yeah.
get to when you write in, you get tired. I stop, I take a
Hmm.
break, and I go back to it. Sometimes
Yeah.
I flip on a show or something and watch a little show on Netflix, and then I go,
Right.
just kind of knock your brain off. I mean, get your equilibrium off a little bit so you can
Absolutely.
balance it by getting
Right.
your mind off of it, then going back to it.
I love
That's
that. I
what
love that.
you
And sometimes rest can be overrated or underrated, rather. Rest can be really underrated. I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of people understand the power of rest, just to be still. And of course, sleeping at night, but even just beyond just the sleep that you get, rest is extremely important. I'm glad you added laughter in there,
Yeah,
because laughter is certainly good for the soul.
it
But
is.
when you think about how busy you are, and I know it can be overwhelming at times, how do you personally recharge from the busyness and from the stress and just the complexity of the life that you're living? How do you recharge?
Well, you have to listen to your body
Hmm.
and pay attention to the signs. I always try to stay in the gym, try to
Yeah.
balance it by working out, but more importantly, having some blocks in my schedule where I'm not
Hmm.
speaking and just
Gotcha.
things to recharge my battery. I usually take May and December. I don't do any speaking usually during those times. I did this
Okay.
past year. My mom passed in December, but
I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah, me too. That was rough. So I took a little
No.
time off, and then I just, God spoke to my spirit, and I said I really want to dig into these kids a little bit and try to empower them. So I think it's important to walk away sometimes, especially
Hmm.
being in the position that I'm in, and you speaking now, so you know how it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
it gets overwhelming, and you just have to just push back and walk away, recharge, and
And just
because
have to know when to say no sometimes too, right?
I do that. I say no
Yeah.
to. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to, and not just
Yeah.
no to the speaking engagement, but no to family members, no to friends, no to
Right.
other folks, and you
Right.
have to really think about yourself. And like I say on the airplane, put the mask on yourself before they put it on
Hmm.
somebody else.
That's right. That's
That's
right. I always say you cannot give what you do not have.
that's right.
Yeah.
And you
So
can't
that's
give
that's
from an empty
extremely
plate,
important.
from an empty cup.
Right.
So
Right.
resting, like you said, you brought up a good point about rest. Rest is not just sleeping.
Hmm.
It's turning your computer off,
Yeah.
putting your phone aside, and
Yeah.
just sometimes it's just sitting still.
Yeah. And we
Sometimes,
live in such a fast-paced world where you're always engaged, right?
uh-huh,
And I know young people talk about FOMO, fear of missing out, but FOMO is real,
yeah, it
and
is.
there are times where even as adults, it's like you think you're missing something,
Uh-huh.
but to your point, it's important to just unplug. You're not missing anything.
Right. Turn
And
your brain
whatever it
off.
is that you
If,
think you're missing, it will still be there.
right. And if I am missing something, so be it. I can't be at everything,
Can't
because
be at
that'll burn you out.
everything.
Thinking you got to
That's
be
right.
everywhere.
That's
So
right.
another good point, you have to know your schedule and know what you're gonna put on there and what you're gonna take off.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
there's certain calls I don't take, or I
Mm-hmm.
say you got to set an appointment. Well, I can't talk to you till next week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I said I'm busy, or
Yeah.
I got my family. My daughter's
Yeah.
demanding too. You didn't
Yeah.
spend time with your family, and
Absolutely.
finding that work life balance. And I'm selfish when it comes to that. When it comes to my family, I cut the phone
Mhm.
off
I
and
love
everything
it.
else. I spend that time. And I think a lot of people got stopped. If a phone's ringing during dinner, we have dinner
Mhm.
time where we sit around the table.
Oh,
That's
I love
personal
that.
time. So,
Yes.
my kids, I say these phones, we got to put them up.
Yeah.
So they have a problem with that sometimes, but they really understanding now that this time that we have together, we'll never get it back.
Yeah. Never get
Let's
it
go
back.
in
And
there.
that's
Let's
that's
go.
been lost on a lot of us,
Yeah.
especially something as simple as true dinner time, true family time to be able to
Right.
just focus on the meal that we're eating and just the gratefulness that we have for each other and for the life that we live. I love that.
And just catching
Um,
up on the day. And you
yeah.
know, our kids talk through their phones, texting. I want to teach them how to use their words and talk
Yes.
verbally and not just talk through text. Because they feel like
Right.
we had a discussion last night at dinner, right? And I asked the kids, I said, so is texting still talking? They
Right.
said, yes. I said, no, it's not.
Right.
And I
But
said,
they think it is though.
so
And
they
you've got some who have a very difficult time having a phone conversation or any other conversation because
That's
of
right.
that.
And we
Yeah.
have to teach our kids communication skills because when you're going out here communicating with somebody or going on a
Mm-hmm.
job interview, you got to
Yep.
learn how to talk to people. And I
Yep.
rather talk to somebody in person so you can get a feel for their emotions and
Right.
their energy and being able to learn how to move and maneuver instead of hide behind text messages on your phone.
Yeah.
And so we have those discussions at dinner, different topics, and I think that's important to do that. And that's another way for me to
Absolutely.
decompress from the computer world and cell
Mm-hmm.
phones and all that stuff because we don't allow no technology at the table.
I love that. That's a very good rule to live by for
Yeah.
sure. Now, when I think about the times that I've heard you speak,
Mhm.
you're amazing. And
Thank
I
you.
mean, I think we met.
Who
We
are you?
met. I was doing a presentation.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes,
Yes,
and
I was giving the
you were
keynote.
the keynote. Yeah, and I was
Dr.
like,
Roger
wow.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I have always enjoyed is just how you motivate and you inspire, but you're also very clear about your messages around educating our Black boys, and
Yes.
just really leaning into that. Your book, Becoming the Educator They Need, is one of my personal favorites.
Thank you.
And then I also know that before that, you wrote for Mothers Raising Sons. And I know
Yes.
you've done a lot of work with this book in
Mhm.
terms of speaking engagements, fireside chats, and just really leaning into what it means to take care of our Black boys, our Black young
Right.
men. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important and just some of the work that you've done around that?
Well, I think it's equally important because the perception has become reality when it comes to educating our black and brown boys, and
Hmm.
that's why I take this so seriously. As you can see,
Hmm.
I'm a Moorish man, and as a kid, I felt like I was mistreated, misunderstood,
Hmm.
and stereotyped, dehumanized,
Hmm.
going through all those different things, and I wasn't able to do anything about it. But I think we
Yeah.
have educators who really want to educate, activate, and motivate our kids to be great. Well, if you're going to do
Hmm.
that, you got to get over some of your biases. You got
Yep.
to get over your thought process because your perception has become your reality.
Hmm.
And you have to, kids don't buy from who they don't like. So,
So
they
true.
don't. The kids learn best when they like their teacher and when they think their
Absolutely.
teacher like them. And many
Yep.
times, we have educators who are showing their hand. These
Hmm.
kids know who you are. They know you don't
Yeah.
care for them. And then who's suspended the most? Who's expelled the most?
Yeah.
Black
The
and brown
data, the
boys.
data doesn't lie.
It don't. And it's always black and brown boys because there are some people who not just, white people, it's people of color who are
Right.
intimidated by people of color. So that colorism is real. So
Hmm.
I just want to bring some awareness and shout out to Dr. Pedro Noguera for doing the foreword for the
Yes.
Becoming the Educator in Need. And shout out to
Mhm.
actress comedian Kim Whitley for doing the foreword for
Yes.
Mothers Raising Sons. I just want to put some materials out there that's going to help educators, help parents, help students
Hmm.
grow into being who he intended for us to be.
I love that. Now I know that you and Kim Whitley have had fireside chats, and like you said, she wrote the foreword for your
Yeah.
book. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and some of the, I guess, the nuggets of knowledge that you all have tried to share with your audience and with other folks who are interested?
Yeah, sure. Kim and I have been friends for many years, and she adopted a young man about 14 years ago, just out the blue.
Mhm.
She went to the hospital
Wow.
to see her, it was her goddaughter or mentee, and the
Hmm.
mentee had a child at the hospital just going to give the child up for adoption, and she had
Wow.
about 30 minutes. Now, hear me now. She didn't know none of this before she got to the hospital. She had 30
Right.
minutes to make a decision. Am I going to take on this young man or am I going to
Yeah.
let him go into the system? And she
Wow.
decided in that moment, I'm going to be a mom. But
Yeah.
when she decided to be a mom, she had no tools, she had no practice, she didn't, so she would call from time to time and ask questions, and that's why I wanted her to do the foreword. I thought she would be good for it, but she's a phenomenal mom. But as in most parents, and as parents, we make bad decisions, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
So we got to teach parents to stop shaming themselves and
Yeah.
understand that we all going to make mistakes, but what are you doing to fix it? How are you
Yeah.
communicating with your son and your kids? How are you
Mhm.
overcoming your own emotional stress, or are you putting
Mm.
all that emotion on your child? You've
Right.
been a leader for so many years. You see it. You see
I
how
do. Yep.
parents come in stressed out, and you can tell kids when the kids come in stressed out, it's probably from
Yep.
one of their parents. So,
Absolutely.
I think we shedded some light on some of the different things that our young men go through, overcoming
Mhm.
obstacles, choosing the woman that'll choose your son, emotional
Ooh.
intelligence, effective community. Yeah, I said choosing the one that'll choose your son, because sometimes moms get in the way when their daughter, when their son falls in love with a young lady, and the first woman that a man falls in love with is his mom. So sometimes mom don't know how to clip that
Oh my goodness.
umbilical cord.
You
So,
dropping some real knowledge right
so
there.
if you don't choose the woman that'll choose your son, you're gonna lose him.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
that's why many of our moms, she's talking about, well, my son's grown. And I said, well, he's grown, but he's still under your guidance. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
my son is 27. He still comes around almost every day.
There
You
you go.
know,
Because
but
you never stop being a parent, right?
we never stop
Yeah.
being a parent.
You
So
never stop being
sometimes
a parent.
that relationship gets strained
Yeah.
because you didn't choose the one that chose your son. And now he's got to
Mm.
make a choice.
Yep.
Either I'm gonna cleave to you, or I'm gonna cleave to her. And 9 times out of 10, he's gonna cleave to her. And then you're gonna be left feeling lonely. That's a whole nother story.
Oh, that's a whole other story. And so,
It's a
but
whole
with
nother book.
the right with the work that you're doing, you're trying to help moms unpack that and to
Right.
try to prevent that from being the case. Because I can only imagine how damaging that can be to relationships in the long run.
It can. Me and my mom, but she passed in December. We were really tight all the way up
Mm-hmm.
until she passed. And we were tight when we was kids. We went through a period where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, her and my wife was having a little turmoil because it was mom. Mom wasn't, treating her the way she should have been treating her.
Right.
Because she's in her feelings about me getting serious with somebody. And,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can get lost in that. And
Yeah.
with the communication and with the emotional intelligence mean managing my emotions while
Mm-hmm.
managing their emotions. So
Yep.
that's extremely important too. And I want
Well,
moms to understand that. So we're gonna be
I
talking
I
about that.
commend you for tackling that. That's not an easy topic,
Yes.
and I definitely commend you for sharing it, not just in your
Thank
books, but even when you're presenting, because I know you always lead with that and tell
you.
stories about your growing up and the folks that impacted you from teachers and so forth. So I
Absolutely.
really appreciate that.
I was raised by
So
all women. So you can still be a man being raised by women, but we need to do this, we need to do
yeah.
this, we need to do that, and we need to stop doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I talked to a prominent leader yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and her son plays professional baseball. She
Okay.
still cooks for him. She still washes his clothes. He a grown man, 25,
And
26
what's your advice?
years old.
Is your advice to stop it? What's the advice?
Yes. How's he going to become self-sufficient
Yeah.
if you continue to do it for him? We got
Yeah.
to teach our young men how to be self-sufficient. And then women can stop complaining about, dating grown boys.
Yes,
Well, we
I know
raising grown boys.
One thing that Kim said in the book was like the question she asked, "Who raised you?"
Right. You sure
Yeah,
that's true
I've been
story.
there before.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And,
Yeah,
and the grown boys run around because moms coddle them too much.
yeah, gotcha.
When I met my wife, I already knew how to cook. I knew how to clean. I had my own house.
I love it.
You got to be self-sufficient. And when you don't teach a man how to fish,
Yeah,
he's always going to go somewhere else to eat. You got
yep.
to teach him how to fish and how to cook his own food instead of
Hmm.
always being dependent on you to cook for him and dependent on you to wash his clothes for him and
I
dependent on
love
you
it.
for advice. No, you got to think for yourself.
Yes.
And that goes for leaders too, because
Yeah.
leaders have kids, and sometimes we get caught up in our positions. Please don't ever get so caught up in your position where you forget your home situation.
That's right. I love
Leave
that.
work at work, leave home at home.
There you go. There
Leave
you go.
home.
Look, you motivating me.
My kids don't care about who I spoke to. I just went last
Right.
week. I spoke in Austin, Texas, and I spoke to 3,000 people. Right?
Yes.
I came home tired, and my daughter didn't ask
They
me
don't
who I
care.
spoke to. She said, "What we having for dinner?"
Right. It's on to the next thing, right?
And that'll humble you real quick.
I can imagine. Absolutely. And so with that said, we talked about burnout and preventing it. And I love the rituals that you shared that you do every day.
Yes.
And I mentioned we live in a very complex world and a lot of moving parts. So
Yes.
right now in this moment, what gives you hope? And what are you optimistic about? And I'm thinking like from the immediate standpoint, like within the next year, or beyond. Where are you in terms of hope and optimism right now?
Well, I stand on the shoulders of Malcolm and Martin and Medgar
Mm,
and Fred Hampton and Kwame Ture.
mm,
There's a lot of greats who came before me, and I feel like they handed me the baton, and I got to keep going. And
love it.
distractions are contusions of the mind that cause confusion.
Ooh,
And
say that one more time.
I said distractions, they are contusions of the mind that cause confusion. And I
Wow.
just refuse to be distracted by the other things that's going on around me. I'm
Yeah.
aware, I'm aware, but I'm not
Right.
distracted. There's a big
Right.
difference.
And that's a choice.
It is.
That's a
And
conscious choice that you have to make.
sometimes and I'm trying to stay focused on what I can control.
Yep.
And I think what gives me hope is that I have the ability to go out here and create
Mm-hmm.
and make a difference. And some of
Mm-hmm.
the things I do, it don't always cost money. Everybody want to put
Right.
everything on money. It don't cost you. And I told a father about 3 weeks ago. He said, I don't have any money. That's why I don't come around and this, that, and other. I said, it don't
Yeah.
cost you a dime to take your daughter to the park.
Yeah. No
And so,
doubt.
so
Yep.
what gives me hope is that I'm able to continue to create. Yes, there's been some changes. Yes, there have been some funds dried up here and there. But God has always brought me through, and He's always
Love it.
brought us through, and He's going to continue to bring us through. So I just don't spend time, stressing about that. What
Yeah.
gives me hope is that we have the opportunity every day to pick up a book and read. We have the
Yep.
opportunity to go to school and get more education. We have the opportunity to do all the things that has been put in front of us and all the things
Mm-hmm.
we've been blessed with. Do your part.
I love
It
that. Do
gives me
your
hope.
part.
I'm just doing my part. I'm one piece of the puzzle, but we
Yep.
need all the pieces to make it a great puzzle. If you're missing
Yeah.
a couple pieces, that's not
It's,
a
it's incomplete.
so what gives me
Yeah.
hope is that I'm doing my part. And I
Yeah.
encourage Dr. Williams to do her part, and I encourage Dr. Cleveland to do his part,
There
and the
you go.
kids to do their part.
There you
And
go.
we got to keep moving forward.
That's
We gotta
right.
keep trusting in God. He's the Alpha, He's the Omega, He's everything in between.
You better preach.
You know what
I
I'm saying?
love
So
it. I
I'm
love
not,
it.
I'm not putting my faith in man. I'm putting my faith in Him.
There you go. And that's a good space to go to a call to action.
That's
And
right.
again, we started off talking about burnout and how we stay ignited within our passion. So, what is your call to action for leaders who are navigating complex social and political climate that we currently live in? What's your call to action?
My call to action to leaders is anybody can lead in a perfect environment.
Mm,
You can lead when it's sunny. I'm calling you to lead during this time where it's storming, when your back's against the wall, because leadership doesn't require a title, but everybody with a title is not a leader. And understand when you call
ooh,
yourself a leader, you're going to be talked about.
yeah,
So people going to talk about you.
there you
I
go.
want you to have a short memory and stay focused on the prize and have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. Be able to
Yeah,
move with the changes. Great leaders are chameleons also, and they know how to switch gears and how to
yeah,
move if it's not working. Great leaders listen to other folks. They listen to
that's right.
advice. And sometimes as leaders, we got to listen to the kids.
That's right. Oh,
I grew up,
absolutely.
I grew up without a cell
They'll
phone.
tell you the truth.
They will. Kids are blatantly honest. I didn't have a
Yep.
cell phone growing up. When that light came on, mom said, "Bring it in front of the house." When the street light came on,
Yep.
right? That time is behind us. Kids got
Yeah.
phones, they got iPads, they got all this
Mhm.
technology, and we got to meet kids where they are.
Yeah.
And my advice to you is to lead from where you are, but go
Lead from where
down.
you are. Yep.
Don't get so caught up in what you're doing that you can't go and talk to the very people that you're leading and ask them what they need.
That's right. I love it. Bloom where you're planted, right? And
That's right.
lead where you are. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time because I mean I've seen your schedule. And so I know that you are very particular as you should be about how you spend your time. So I'm really
Right.
grateful for you spending time here on a
Thank you. Thank you
prescription
for
for
having me.
joy.
Hey, y'all make sure y'all
Absolutely.
get on there to get on her YouTube page. Tell them about you. You got to get on there and log
Yes.
on
Oh,
and start
thank
following
you.
you on
Here
YouTube.
I go. Here I go.
And
Yeah, so I always like to wrap up with what I call an avisism. And these are just little things, from my reflections on life, and my Avisism for today is, it ain't easy making it look easy. Now,
Ooh.
now
Yeah.
some people may say that that's kind of like the whole fake it till you make it thing, but in leadership, you do have to project confidence. Now, when I
Right.
think about making it look easy, that doesn't mean that you fake your way through things. And it
Mm,
doesn't mean that you put more stress on yourself, because
right.
sometimes you don't need to make it look easy. Life can be hard. And it's
Yes.
okay for people to know that you're human and that you're challenged and that you're overcoming challenges.
Come
So,
on now.
yeah, it ain't easy making it look
Come on.
easy. And sometimes you shouldn't have to. And I will leave that avisism right there.
Avisism. I like it.
Right. And so, as I wrap up, though, I do want to encourage our listeners and viewers to make sure you check out my website at joyfulcollab.com. Follow me on social media at Joyful Collab. That's on YouTube and IG. Dr. Avis W on X, and you can DM me on any of those platforms. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, I would love to hear from you from that standpoint as well. Look for more ways to engage as we move into the future. And again, thank you so much, Robert Jackson, for attending and participating with me. Thank you for your contributions to from a literature standpoint, to give
Thank
us
you.
all
Appreciate it.
some insights on what we can do to make sure that we're pouring into our young men. And thank you for sharing what you do to make sure you're preventing burnout and igniting passion and reigniting passion.
Thank you so
Um,
much for having me. Follow me on Instagram, Rob J Motivates, and on X, RJ Motivates, and my YouTube page is Robert Jackson Motivates on YouTube. Look forward to connecting with you. Everybody on Facebook, just look up Robert Jackson Motivates.
I love
Well,
it.
all the old school folks, we on Facebook.
Thank you for sharing that. And y'all, please follow him. Look him up. You will not be disappointed. So, this wraps up this episode of A Prescription for Joy. And so, until next
That's
time,
it. We done
that's
already.
it. That's it. That's it. It's a wrap.
It's
It's
a
a
wrap.
wrap.
Beautiful. Keep
Yeah,
up
it's
the
a
great
wrap.
work,
Until
Dr.
next
Love
time, keep
Till next.
thriving, keep shining, and keep choosing joy. And see you next time. Thanks.
Let's go. Let's do it.